Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Please, you can unmute for now just to confirm that you can hear me, or you can give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, please. All right. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Mercy. Thank you very much. It's good to see you guys on the second edition of our series of our webinars. I'd say big welcome to every one of you. So we'll be good evening once again, and a very warm welcome to every one of you for joining Batex's professional webinar titled Stakeholder Engagement, Building Strong Collaborative Relationship. I'm delighted to have you join us for this important session today, whether you are a practicing business analyst or a project professional or someone aspiring to move into the this dynamic field. Tonight's session is the second in our May-June 2025 webinar series, and it's designed to support your professional growth through high impact and high impact practical topics. Over the next hour, we'll unpack what it means to truly engage stakeholders, and not just as a name on a register, but as an essential or as essential partners in delivering business success. So let's kick off with the today's topic while other people join. So if you can hear me at any point in time, just raise up your hand and I will pause. So if I'm looking to this side, it's because I'm looking at my slides on my second screen while you guys are on this side. So please pardon me while I'm looking on this side, and I can also look here from time to time. All right, so let's get started. We'll start by setting the context why stakeholder engagement is more than just a checkbox or a checklist exercise, and why it's important, why it matters in every project. Who are stakeholders, for example? So we're going to be looking at who are stakeholders. We'll clarify exactly who qualifies as a stakeholder, including groups. We often forget that they are actually part of the stakeholder group and why their roles are so critical. We'll talk about the importance of stakeholder engagements. Here we'll look at the risk of neglecting engagements and the real benefits of doing it well. From project alignment to smoother delivery. Then thirdly, we'll talk about stakeholder identification. Yeah, we'll have a walkthrough, simple but very effective methods to identify stakeholders, even the hidden ones who don't shout loud but hold major influence on the project. Then we'll talk about stakeholder analysis. Not all stakeholders are equal. We have to understand that not all stakeholders are equal. So in this section of the presentation, to help you prioritize your efforts in using tools like Power Interest Grade and the likes that we'll be exploring this evening. Then we'll look at communication strategies. Engagement without communication is totally impossible. So here we'll explore how to tailor messages and methods to different messages and methods to different stakeholder groups. And then we'll also talk about building trust and collaboration. Trust isn't something built overnight, as you all agree with me. We'll cover behaviors and practices that helps create long-term collaborative relationships in business or on a project. Then we'll talk about managing conflicts. Would acknowledge that friction happens in every organization, and on every project. However, we share some professional ways to address and diffuse it constructively. Then we'll look at the tools and techniques. We'll introduce tools that make engagement more structured and measurable and less guesswork. Then we'll look at a case study, a real world case example. So we'll look at we'll close the session today with a case study that brings all these concepts to life, showing how good engagements may how good measurements how good engagements made a measurable impact in a real world experience. And then by the end of this session, we will we'll all have the practical toolkit for engaging stakeholders more effectively with strategies that we can apply immediately, regardless of the field where you are. So, as a point of introduction, we want to understand that engaging stakeholders isn't just a formal step in project governance. It's a strategic activity that can make or break project outcomes. Projects fail more often from misaligned expectations than technical limitations in the real sense. As a business analyst, or as business analysts, we sit at the intersection between strategy and operations. We translate business needs into functional solutions. And to do this successfully, we must engage the right people at the right time and in the right way. The three benefits of strong stakeholder engagements. First, it uncovers hidden risk and opportunities. Stakeholders often have insights no one the stakeholders often have insights that no one else has about operational challenges, customer feedback, or upcoming changes. They always have that. So it uncovers good stakeholder engagement, uncovers hidden risk and opportunities that we may not even be aware of. Secondly, it helps to align expectations and requirements, preventing ambiguity that leads to rework. And thirdly, the third engagement is engagement facilitates informed decision making. Good engagement with stakeholders facilitates informed decision making by giving visibility into all moving parts and pieces and perspective and potential impacts within the projects that we are looking at or the projects of concern. Now that we've seen why stakeholder engagement is so crucial, let's define exactly who we mean when we talk about stakeholder. Who are they? Who is this person? Who are these people? Who are these people in the real sense? Now that we understand the why behind now that we understand the why behind engagements, let's focus on the who. Who exactly are we engaging? Who exactly are we talking with? Who are we engaging on our projects? Who are we engaging when it comes to this particular thing? So who is a stakeholder? A stakeholder is anyone who can affect or is affected by a project outcome. Let me come again. A stakeholder is anyone who can affect or is affected by a project outcome. This includes decision makers, it includes users, it includes beneficiaries, even regulators, because they can affect or be affected by the project or the program or the concern at that point in time. Essentially, anyone with an interest in what the project delivers. Anyone who has an interest or has an influence in what the project delivers is a stakeholder. So some people make the mistake of thinking because we are working with this organization and we worked on this project and then we're working on the next project, everybody on this project is also a stakeholder in this next project. No. If there may be someone in project A that may be in project B, but has no influence or is not affected or it does not or has no influence by or on the project on project B, but add it on project A. So if the person is not affected or cannot affect or cannot influence the project B, then that person is not a stakeholder of project B. Please, let's understand that. So anyone who has an interest or can influence a project is a stakeholder in simple and short form. Let's go ahead to break down stakeholders categories. Let's break down the stakeholders into categories. Number one, we have internal stakeholders. These are people within the organization, project team, line managers, executive, or operation staff. They hold deep operational knowledge or sponsor the initiative in the first instance. Secondly, we have external stakeholders. They are usually outside parties, such as customers, suppliers, or regulatory bodies. They influence compliance, funding, service delivery, or public perspective. They influence it from that part. So they are external to the business or to the project, but they have massive influence or they are affected by what we are doing as a project. Then we have primary stakeholders. They are direct. They have direct impact. They are direct to that project. These are your front row stakeholders. They are people like the end users or sponsors, product owners. They directly engage with the solution you are delivering. They directly engage with that solution. Then we have secondary stakeholders. They are the indirect ones. Think of groups who are not directly impacted by, but still have a stake. For example, the media community groups, industry associations, or trade bodies. Their voices may be subtle but still very influential over whatever you're doing. So it is important not to underestimate the influence of your secondary stakeholder. Please take note of that. Don't undermine them. Sometimes their feedback or resistance can impact adoption or even your reputation. So you want to take note of them. Now that we've looked at who a stakeholder is and we've looked at the broad categories of stakeholders, let's explore why engaging them proactively is so crucial. This slide really gets to the heart of today's topic, because no matter how well designed your project is, it will be a struggle without stakeholders buy-in. Now let's talk about the key point here, which is why stakeholder engagement matters. Why stakeholder engagement matters. The quality of your stakeholder relationship often determines the success or failure of your project. It's not just about involving people. It's about engaging them meaningfully. It's not just about just talking to people. It's about engaging them meaningfully as it relates to the project. Let's look at some benefits of effective engagement, stakeholder engagement. Number one, it builds alignment. When you engage stakeholders early and consistently, you create shared clarity around project goals, deliverables, and priorities. So it helps to build that alignment early enough. It reduces resistance. People are less likely to resist what they've helped to shape in the real sense. If someone has helped you to shape the ideology behind something or the plans behind it, They wouldn't now wake up tomorrow and come to start be to be the ones to resist you. So people are less likely to resist what they've helped to shape. Engagement creates ownership, which smooths implementation and boosts adoption at the end of the day. Number three, it enhances transparency and accuracy. Stakeholders are more likely to support projects they understand. So, clear two-way communication builds trust and keeps everyone informed. Clear two-way communication. You're talking, I'm understanding. I understand what you're saying. You're communicating. We are both communicating. It helps to build trust and keeps everyone informed at the long run. And then the last but not the least here, it improves. It improves. Okay, it's not our last. It's not our last point, but it improves decision making. It improves decision making. With the right stakeholders involved, decisions are made with a fuller picture, taking into account operational, strategic, and user perspectives. The risk of poor engagements, on the other hand. So, on the other hand, disengaged or marginalized stakeholders can cause real trouble in your projects. Try to understand that. From misaligned expectations and scope creep to outright failure, they can cause a lot of problems. It is important to remember that engagement is not just about keeping people happy. It's about building a shared foundation for informed action, resilience, and long-term success of the project. So, how do we ensure right stakeholders can be engaged in the first place? That starts with identification, and that's where we are headed to next. So let's talk about stakeholder identification. Now let's look at where engagement really begins. With knowing who we need to engage, stakeholder identification is the very first building block of a successful strategy. Why does stakeholder identification really matter? Without proper identification, you risk missing key voices. And often, those are the ones who could influence or derail a project down the line. So, early identification ensures inconclusivity and control. What are the key methods for stakeholder identification? First is document review. Start with available artifacts. I tell people from time to time, and you want to start with the available documents, the available artifacts. What has the team brought up before? It may be a project brief, it may be the business case, it may be whatever. You want to start with the available artifacts. Your project charter, it can be your business case, even the organizational charts. These different artifacts helps you map out formal roles and reporting lines. Then you want to have stakeholder interviews. Stakeholder interview is just a one-on-one interview where which are very, very great for surfacing less visible stakeholders. Those who may not hold a title but have real influence or valuable insights about the projects that you are about to embark on or they are dealing with. Then the third, workshops and brainstorming. Use facilitated sessions to map out all impacted parties collaboratively. It encourages teams to think outside the usual hierarchy of doing things. It brings this collaboration or the collaborative spirit within that workshop or brainstorming session. Then the third is the RACI matrices. The RACI tool helps align roles clearly. Who is responsible, to who is accountable, to who is to be consulted, and who is to be informed. This clarifies engagement levels early and prevents confusion later. The end goal is to build a comprehensive stakeholder register that is a living document that evolves through the project lifecycle and informs your entire engagement strategy. Once you know who you're dealing with, the next step is to understand how to prioritize and manage these relationships. That's where stakeholder analysis comes in. Once we've identified our stakeholders, the next step is to analyze them, to understand their influence, their interest, and how best to engage each one of them. The purpose of this stakeholder analysis is this. Stakeholder analysis is all about prioritization. It's about prioritization. It helps us focus time and effort on the right people in the right way and at the right time. It helps us to focus our efforts on the right people and the right way and at the right time. Now let's look at two effective models for stakeholder analysis. The first, power interest grid. This tool maps stakeholders based on how much power they have and how interested they are in the projects. So, sorry, someone was okay. I think the person was muted. So we look at it from high power, high interests. That is, the people with high power and high interests, you want to keep them closely involved. The people with the low interest and low power, you want to monitor them, but lightly. It's simple but very effective in tailoring our engagement strategy when dealing with our stakeholders. Then we have the silence model. The salience model goes a step further by classifying stakeholders based on three factors. One, power, that is how much influence they have. Two, legitimacy, that is whether their stake is considered valid. Three, urgency, that is how quickly they expect action. This model is particularly helpful when different stakeholders have competing demands. So this kind of analysis lets us confidently answer three questions. One, who needs regular updates? Two, who should be actively involved in decisions? Three, who needs closer monitoring or influencing? So in short, stakeholder analysis helps us use our time and resources wisely. Instead of treating all stakeholders equally, we engage them strategically. Once we now know who we are working with and how much attention they need, the next step is creating how we communicate with them. Let's now talk about communication strategies. Now that we have analyzed our stakeholders, who our stakeholders are and how to prioritize them, the next step is very very crucial, which is communicating effectively. Why does communication even matter in the first instance? Clear, consistent, and context sensitive communication is the heartbeat of stakeholder engagements. It helps keep everyone aligned, informed, connected throughout the whole project lifecycle. Let's now look at an effective communication strategy, or different communication strategies that are very effective. Number one, we have audience specific messaging. Yeah, different stakeholders need different messages. You would agree with me. A CEO wants a strategic overview, while a project team member may need detailed task or timeline. We need to adapt our tone, depth, and focus for each group that we are dealing with. The way we talk to an operation staff, or the way we communicate with an operation staff, is different from the way we talk to an executive staff. That's all we are just saying here. Number 2, channel selection. Don't rely on a single method. Don't say because I'm dealing with these people, this method, that's how I will deal with this other thing. No. Don't rely on a single method. Consider emails for formal updates, instant messaging for quick chats, meetings for alignments, and dashboards or briefings for executives. Match the medium of stakeholders' preferences and their roles together. The frequency and the format. How often we communicate and how we communicate should be structured. This is where a stakeholders communication plan comes in. A stakeholders communication plan is simply a living document that captures who gets what, when, and how. Then communication should be a two-way thing. Remember that communication is not a one-way broadcast. It should be reciprocal. Listening is just as important as informing. You would all agree with me. Definitely, there are some people that they just talk, you don't even understand what they're saying. But listening is as important as informing. So, especially when stakeholders are navigating change or uncertainty. Now that we've covered how to communicate, let's look at how we build long-term collaboration and trust with our stakeholders. Trust is the currency of engagements, and it is earned through our actions, not our intentions. It is earned through our actions and not just our intentions. Collaboration is what we get when the trust is in place. Trust isn't automatic, it is built. Trust isn't automatic, it is built. Trust doesn't just come from job titles or PowerPoints or whatever. It comes from consistency, reliability, transparency, and how we make people feel in the process. Why does it even matter in the first instance? When stakeholders trust us, they become collaborators, not critics. They become collaborators, not critics. That's how we move from coordination to co-creation. We move from coordination to co-creation. That is collaboration, not just them coordinating or saying do this, do that, but we will now do it together. What are the key principles of building trust and collaboration? What are the key principles? Let's break down the key principles here. Number 1, authenticity. Be real. Do what you say you will do. Be real. Do what you say you will do, not saying what you cannot achieve. Follow through on your promises, even the small ones. Follow through on them. This consistency builds reliability over time. Don't say I can do something and you're not able to do it, and that's how you are. After some time, when you talk, I'm sure from time to time we've all met people that we've all seen people that that when they say this or they say that, you're just like, okay, I've heard you. But in the real sense, you know that this one's your mind is never there, because you know this one's is promise and fail. This one is not talk and do. So, empathy. Take time to understand stakeholder concerns, pressures, and their motivations. It's not about agreeing, it's about seeing from their perspective. So take time to understand stakeholders' concerns, pressures, and motivations. Very, very, very important. Number 3, clarity. Be transparent about decisions, constraints, and goals. Ambiguity breeds distrust. Clarity invites alignment. Number 4, inclusion. Involve stakeholders early, not just when approvals are needed. Participation creates ownership, and improves outcomes. Think of stakeholder engagement as a long-term relationship, not just a transaction. When people feel valued and involved, they go from passive observers to active champions. Of course, not all stakeholder interactions are smooth. In short, it's one of the toughest things you will do as a business analyst, as a project manager, or whatever. It's one of the toughest things you will do. So it's not always smooth, but let's now explore how to handle difficult situations, including conflicts. Conflict is not a sign of failure. Understand that. It's not a sign of failure. It's a normal part of collaboration. Genuinely a normal part of collaboration. And what happens in most in most cases is how we manage it. What happens in most cases is how we actually manage these conflicts. Number one, you want to acknowledge acknowledge objectivity or unclear objectives. Acknowledge that whenever there are differing expectations or priorities or perceptions, conflict is bound to arise. Whenever there are differing expectations, priorities, or perceptions, conflict is bound to arise. It is bound to arise. It will arise. It is part of working with diverse stakeholders, especially if you're working with a very large team. It is just normal. You will have those that will align with you. You will have those that it's not going well. So, what are the common root causes of conflicts? Number one, we have confusion about objectives, unclear objectives, unclear directions or priorities. It can be unclear objectives, unclear direction, or where are we going to? What do we want to achieve? Or even unclear priorities can cause conflicts. Number two, miscommunication. That is, assumptions or information gap can also be a root cause of conflicts. Then we have competing interests. That is, different or conflicting agendas or timelines across different teams or even different individuals within the team can be a root cause of conflicts. How do we then manage conflicts effectively? Number one, we want to address them early. You want to address the issues early, not until when it grows, because conflicts are like seeds, they grow. So you want to address them early. Silence lets every small tension snowball at the long run. You've seen the snowball. Once you take a little snow and it rolls and rolls over time, it becomes bigger. So we need to silence it early enough. Nip it in the bud. Early intervention often prevents escalation. Number two, you have to stay neutral. As a project manager, as a business analyst, or a change manager, you want to stay neutral. As a business analyst, just remain impartial. Focus on the facts, not emotions or personalities. Oh, I like this person, and then I'll go with that person. No, focus on the facts. This helps to escalate early, very, very fast. It helps to escalate the whole issue really, really fast. The last but not the least here, use structured techniques. Approaches like interest-based negotiation, facilitated workshops, or even formal escalation routes can keep discussions productive and respectful. In moments of conflict, we are not just analysts, we are mediators. We're not just analysts, we are mediators. Our job is to create safe, solution-focused spaces where stakeholders can find common grounds. Now that we've covered conflict management, let's explore some of the most useful tools and techniques we can apply to support engagement across the board. Engagement is not just about intention, as I've mentioned before, it's about execution. And for that, we need practical tools to help us gather insights, manage relationships, and drive collaboration. Why do these tools matter? What are the key techniques involved? Why do these tools even matter in the first instance? Let's even talk about why the tools even matters in the first instance. Business analysts on a wide range of stakeholder um, engagement techniques to navigate different personalities, expectations, and project complexities. Each tool serves a specific purpose, and your ability to choose the right one is very, very key. The ability to choose the right one at um different situations is a major one. Is key to managing different stakeholders and different personalities. What are the key techniques? Number one, we have workshops. Workshops brings stakeholders together to explore ideas, build alignment, and co-create solutions. The major aim for workshops is to get consensus, is to reach an agreement, is to get alignment, is to co-create, is to build together. That's the essence of workshops. They are great for consensus building, especially in the early stages of your projects. Two, we have structured interviews. Structured interviews allows us to deep dive one-on-one into a stakeholder's perspective. It's perfect for drawing out concerns, motivations, or unspoken needs from our interviewee. Then we have focused groups. Focus groups. A focus group is a facilitated way to gather input from multiple stakeholders in the same session. You get varied insights and can surface constraining views in a safe environment. Then we have survey and pose. Survey and pose. When you need broad inputs quickly, especially from a dispersed group, I mean, people that are in different locations, surveys and polls provide a snapshot of stakeholder sentiments. Then we have stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. This helps you to monitor where your stakeholders currently stand in terms of engagement and where you need them to be. It's a way to evaluate it's a way to evaluate and fine-tune your engagement strategy over time. So select your tool based on stakeholder preference, the complexity of the initiative, and the kind of information you need. There's no one size fits all. You can't just use one technique and across every situation. It will never work. So to bring all together, let's walk through a real life example where effective stakeholder engagement made measurable impact. To bring everything together, let's look at a real world case that shows how strategic engagement can transform stakeholders. This case study here comes from a public sector transformation project. The department of a new the deployment of a new CRM system in a governance agency. What was the challenge? The team encountered significant resistance from frontline staff. Why? Because they feared the new system would be difficult to use or even replace their roles. I'm sure some of us have felt that way before when some technology was brought into where we work. This is a common challenge, especially when change feels imposed, not explained. Instead of pushing, what was the intervention here? Instead of pushing ahead blindly, the project team pushed to map stakeholders and engage key influencers early enough. They organized targeted workshops, invited feedback through pilot programs, and built in continuous feedback loops. What did this result to? The result was a dramatic shift in engagements. User adoption exceeded expectation, and within 6 months, operational efficiency improved by 20%. The lesson here is that the key takeaway here is that trust and inclusion changed the total outcome. So when stakeholders become co-creators instead of passive recipients, the energy shifts from compliance to commitment. It shifts from compliance to commitment, and then where transformation truly happens. This is just about this is not just about process, it's about people. Stakeholder engagement is where strategy meets empathy and where good projects become great. Now let's take a moment to recap the key message we've explored today. Because stakeholder engagement isn't a one-time task. It's a continuous strategic process that underpins every successful initiative. We've moved away from seeing stakeholders as an activity to recognizing it as an ongoing relationship strategy, one that requires intention, structure, and empathy. Begin by knowing who is involved and how much influence they hold. You can't engage what you haven't mapped in the first instance. So you begin by identifying and analyzing them. Then you want to craft messages that resonate with each audience, not just in what you say. It's not just what you say, but how and when you say it. We spoke about building trust. Trust accelerates everything. It is built through consistency, responsiveness, and mutual respect. And then we spoke about managing conflicts. We've said that conflicts isn't a threat, it's an opportunity to deepen your understanding. It's if it is handled proactively and respectfully, then it's a very, very it can be if it is managed proactively and respectfully, then it can be diffused early enough. Then we've also spoken about using the right tools, from interviews to workshops to focus groups and assessment matrices. Your toolkit supports deeper and more informed collaboration throughout stakeholder management or stakeholder engagement. So when stakeholder engagement is done well, stakeholder engagement turns passive updates into active partnership. It shifts your project from being about people to being with people, and that changes everything because it brings about this collaboration. So at this point, thank you for engaging attentively. Before we open up for questions, I would like to share or maybe after we go through the questions and answers, then I would like to share an opportunity for you guys to learn further. So at this point, it's time for questions and answers. If you have any question, the floor is open for questions, reflections, or even personal experiences with stakeholder engagement. Okay, Levan, go for it.
Yeah, good evening, everyone,
Good evening.
and thank you for the session. My question is, in this stakeholder analysis, I had an experience where my not the line manager, I won't call him line manager, but kind of like the head of the department of the finance department.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled me into that project, and while she was telling me about the process improvements and the automation, what they were going through in that project and why they were bringing me in, she said, keep me in the loop.
Okay.
And I didn't understand what that meant. I know it's communication. I asked her, how do you want me to communicate to you? Is it through email? How do you want the updates and all of that? She said, email is fine. And in my head, I'm like, okay, since I'm the only one working on this project, I'm going to create a Jira that I'll manage myself for this particular project. Do I add that into the project with my line manager so that they can kind of have a look and feel of how the project is going? Or the Teams group that she created, do I drop emails or do I drop reports there? What kind of reports do I drop? I'm just at that crossroad. So a little bit of clarification on this stakeholders analysis and how we communicate with them would be very good if you clarify that for me.
Okay. So she told, yeah, welcome, Levan. She told you, I think I picked up something there. She told you that emails are fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You've answered the question.
So what do I write in the email?
It's very simple. A little update. You see, a lot of times when people hear email, they think it has to be paragraphs upon paragraphs. A line can be an email. 2 lines can be an email. It's very simple. Keep me in loop, meaning that she wants regular updates, right, on what is happening when it comes to this particular thing, right? At the end of the week, you can always give her an update. Oh, this is how far we've gone about this. And if you think it's not important for that week, you leave it alone. The following week, if you have an update, you send to her. That's
Okay,
how to keep in loop.
okay, so for instance, now I've done like a workshop for some specific teams that I'll be working with. I've done okay, let me say I've done the workshop. Do I have to tell her about that? Say, oh, this week this was what I did.
No. So she's not your line manager, right?
No, my line manager is aware of what I've done.
Yeah, she's not your line manager, but
No.
what is at the end of the day, that's what we spoke about.
She gave me the project charter.
She gave you, so meaning that she has an
like
influence.
Yeah.
She's like the sponsor, right?
Yeah, kind of.
That's the blessing that, in short, you should have been tied down to your sponsor, because your sponsor has the power to stop that project.
Will I say she's the sponsor? She has somebody else she reports to.
Yeah, but if she has somebody, it means that she has an influence at the end of the day.
Yeah, she has an influence on that project.
Major influence on that project.
Absolutely.
So then you should be giving a regular update, in short, weekly.
And like what are the things? That's what I asked you. That what are the things?
So it depends on what you're doing on that project. One of the things you want to do is, I always tell business analysts, every week make sure you're putting out something for a project to move forward. Don't just leave it alone. No, because they gave it 2 weeks, let us live for 2 weeks. No, you want to make yourself be a professional. So at the end of the week, you can just say, oh, this is how far we've gone with this. Oh, requirements gathering or elicitation has been completed. Now we're moving to the next stage of things. Oh, we experienced so and so difficulties during the week, and I'm working with so and so person or so and so group to sort this out. Hopefully we get this sorted out next week, and I'll give you an update about this, on how this, I'll keep you in loop on how this continues. Simple. In short, people like that don't want long emails.
Okay.
Make it 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines. They are fine.
Okay.
They just want to know what is happening there.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have I answered your question, ma?
Absolutely. Yes, so yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we in the training, for those that have attended, I teach them on power interest grid. I teach them very well. It's
Mm.
something that you must do. It is when you're doing that, it's for your use. It's not for you to put it out there for the whole project. It's for your use. It's to guide you and make sure that you're not stepping on the wrong toes. And you are following the people that actually have power. So keeping your job or
Yeah,
chasing.
the irony of this whole thing, eh?
Mm-hmm.
As a business, you find out that different environment that you work, you see different styles of working,
I
and
got you.
you begin to look at it that is it better in this or the former one, or what are these people doing here? So there's always this confusion and mix up every time you're in a new project.
And nah, there shouldn't be any. That's why you're a business analyst. Eh? One of the things you want to do first, and I tell people, regardless of whether you're a business analyst or you're not a business analyst, one of the things you want to do first is the fact that you want to look at how they do their things there.
Mm-hmm.
You won't say because I'm coming from somewhere where we just work with emails, I'm all right. No, they will kick you out of the door.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys do your things here? It's one of the very important. It sounds very weird, but it's a very important question. How do you do this here? Let them tell you. For example, you don't want to get into an organization, for example, government departments where we have hundreds of BAs, and then only you want to come and change how they do all their things there.
I know.
You cannot be the El Shaddai.
They will send you out.
Not the El Shaddai that you want to become, you will die in the process. Don't come there to try to change things.
Things, yeah.
How do you do that? If you are the only BA there,
Mm.
you cannot say, oh, this is now, you may not, even if it's a smaller team of BAs, for example, if it's a small team of BAs, you can decide to give recommendations, but look at how one thing before I even give recommendations, how do they do their things here? Very important.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important. How do they do their things here? That's one thing you want to know. Based on how they do their things, you adjust. You're a business analyst. I think the problem with a lot of people, especially for people who don't yet have strong experience, a lot of times, they've had people who told them that this is how to do things, this is how to do that, this is how to do this, this is how to do that. So they have this structured thinking that this is how I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You're a business analyst.
It becomes theoretical.
It becomes so there's no strict way of doing it. Understand your environment really well, and that's why you need to map out. Look at that person that people are rallying around. Better rally around that person, so you never pass your probation. So does that answer your question, Lovan?
Yes, but I have more, but I think I want to take it outside the call.
Okay. You may need to book a session for that. Is there any other question? Let's see if other people have questions. Any other question from any other person? Any other questions? Any other questions on what we've spoken about today? No other question. Lovan, I think we can take one more question from you. If it has to do with today's topic.
No, not today's topic.
Okay. Then you can book a time off with me, a time with me. You can send an email to HR. Let me drop that in the chat so that
If I drop at HR, what's the response time like?
you get it almost immediately. You get it not almost immediately. It has to be weekday. If you send it during work hours, anything before 5 p.m., you get it the same day. You get a reply the same day.
Okay.
Okay, so that's it. Okay, Shion, your hand is up. Oh, okay. No, he left. Sorry, I thought he raised up his hand. So if there's no other question, thank you guys. Thank you so much. We have the training coming up for those that are professionals or um aspiring business analyst, where would look at all the key concepts around business analysis, and we have life projects, not abstract projects in this case. So you'll be gaining all essential BA tools and techniques, real life project experience as for our case study, preparation for your exams. One thing we do here, we also prepare you guys for exams, professional exams. We'll support you with writing your CVs and interview coaching, job readiness, training. You get one-to-one opportunities to have one-to-one sessions with me at no cost, because that's included in the cost for the training already anyways. Professional career guidance. Some people have followed some of our guidance and they've gotten their jobs today. And then you definitely get your certification of completion to boost your portfolio. It's a 3 month program starting on the 12th of July this year, and it's going to be strictly online. It makes it easy and flexible for you. So thank you for joining us on today's session. We have another one coming up on the 7th of June, so you can mark your calendar, same time, 6 p.m. There we'll be talking about data storytelling, where we're looking at transforming data into compelling narratives. So, and then on the 21st of June, we'll be talking about navigating agile environments, the looking at the evolving role of the business analyst. So thank you very much for your time this evening. It was nice having you guys. Thank you for your time. Do take care. I will see you 7th of June. Take care. Bye.